Why don't I just go back to the day things took a turn for the worse?
Run for your lives! Everyone run for cover! SOS! Mayday! Mayday! Code Red, duck and cover! You're all in danger! Run for cover! Run for your lives! Easy boy!
To celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Bit Squad, we are going to be giving away $1,000 in Bitcoin for the months of March and April, along with 2 Nano Ledger S's. An extra $100 prize will be available for those who join the Telegram group. Like and comment on every video in March and April for the maximum number of entries. You must be a subscriber to win. Hey Bit Squad, welcome back to the channel. Sorry, no video yesterday. I know we had all this Tether drama in Bitfinex, which we're going to be talking about at the end of this video. A lot of revelations have come to pass from this, and I actually owe Tether an apology, so I'm going to do that at the end of the video. We're also going to be looking at Nike getting into crypto, some old snapshots of how much you could buy weed for on Silk Road. Bringing up some old memories, not for me personally, but for some people. We're going to be looking at Andrew Yang, IBM, all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be a very interesting episode today. Tomorrow, I have the Crypto Influencer Awards live streaming from my channel, along with a ton of other YouTubers as well. So be on the lookout for that. I'm nominated for like 5, 10, 84 awards, something like that. So you guys make sure to tune in. So, okay, guys, let's jump into the markets. Market Watch. All right, guys, Bitcoin recovering pretty nicely from yesterday. Why did we have the drop? Well, it had to do with the Bitfinex story that we're going to talk about from the Wall Street Journal. And, you know, we saw a lot of people moving out of Tether at that point, but we saw a lot of sell-offs. Price dropped quite dramatically. But as far as the price goes right now, I feel like the fact that we did not fall further, which I didn't think that we would, is an indication of how strong the market is right now. A lot of people yesterday were predicting we were going to go back into the 3s. We didn't even go into the 4s. And I don't think that we're going to. I was on record yesterday as saying when the story broke and we had that initial drop, that it would immediately come back up. And look what has happened. It hit a bottom right around the time the story was dropped, and then it moved up. A lot of people think maybe the story, insiders kind of knew it was coming, and that was why some of these big moves, some whales making moves happened right as the story was coming out, like they almost knew. Not to get too much on the story right now before we get to it, but, if you don't think that the timing of this was intentional, then I got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. So I don't think it's a surprise that the market was doing well, everybody's really bullish, and then we get this huge story that's supposed to shake up the market, and it didn't really happen. Yes, some short-term gains for a day, but I think we'll be right back where we were here in a couple of days. And I said yesterday the story would not have legs. As soon as the story was announced and we got the drop, that would be it, because there really isn't anything terrible in the story. But as far as the rest of the market goes, we're at 171 billion, 54.5 Bitcoin dominance. Biggest winners of the day, we have Maximind Coin, Digix DAO, Horizon, Bitcoin Gold, and Theta all up a little bit today, some double digits. And biggest loser of the day, not a lot of huge losers, nobody over 5%. We got Revain, Zcoin, Crypto.com Chain, ARK, and ELF. Number 5. Oh, a visit down the memory lane. Here we have the Silk Road. This is a screenshot. If you had never seen Silk Road before, this is what it basically looked like. You could shop for drugs here. I'm not promoting the use of drugs by any stretch of the imagination, but you could buy 5 grams of shrooms for 29 Bitcoins. So you could also buy a lot of tie-dye shirts with that much now. So a lot of those people are probably regretting tripping on shrooms. They probably would have rather not tripped on the shrooms and then waited and used the 29 Bitcoins today to get maybe an old Volkswagen van and 84 tie-dye shirts and maybe tickets to the Grateful Dead reunion concert they had a few years ago. So I don't know if it was a good choice for them, but this is what it actually looked like. You create a login and password. I'm sure you could probably use the internet time machine, but here's the big thing here, guys, is just look at these prices. You could buy some ecstasy for 30 Bitcoins. You could buy an eighth of marijuana for 43 Bitcoins. I think that's an 8. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But the long and the short of it is that is not a lot of bang for your buck. Back then it would have been. But now, to put this in perspective, in Los Angeles or San Francisco, you could buy this much marijuana legally for like 30 to 40 bucks, I think, maybe even cheaper than that. So, imagine getting high off 43 Bitcoins. And now looking back on that. So, just something to look at. I also am very guilty of selling out too early and, not making as much money as I should have made and things like that. But, it is kind of fun to look down memory lane. Obviously, a lot of bad stuff happened from this, including, Ross Ulbricht still in prison with a life term sentence or double life, something like that. And then, obviously this has been taken down. There was a lot of bad stuff going on this website as well. Probably some innocent shroom buying. I'm not going to, knock anybody for buying some shrooms online or something like that. But, yeah, so just imagine paying 43 Bitcoins for a sack of weed. Number 4. Okay, we talked about Andrew Yang a couple of weeks ago. And now there are videos of his recent rally that he had in LA. I believe this was the one in LA that they were talking about. He had 4,000 people at that rally. And I honestly see Andrew Yang as someone who is going to be in the competition for the Democratic nominee for president. Now, why is this significant? If you watch my channel, you've seen we've talked about him before. He is very pro cryptocurrency. He is a Democrat. He is for things like universal basic income. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but he's probably against the Second Amendment and some, right to bear arms for you international folks. I would assume he probably is, just because that lines up with everybody who is on the left. And some other takes, regarding probably socialized healthcare and things like that. But, the fact that he is involved in cryptocurrency, I'm kind of rooting for him, to at least make it far through the, to make it far through the nomination process. Maybe win the nomination. I doubt he will win the nomination, honestly. But if he can get it at least within the final 3, 2, 3, 4, then I think cryptocurrency is going to really be something that's going to come to the forefront in this campaign, at least as a topic that is mentioned. And that's great news for crypto, especially in spite of when we're having negative stories written about it. It's good to see somebody who is in the political eye who is for cryptocurrency. Apparently, the crowd that he drew at this last conference, it was 10 times bigger than crowds he was drawing a few weeks ago. He's really starting to build momentum, so definitely somebody to keep your eye on. Number 3. All right, IBM, another IBM story. We know they are involved with Stellar. Now they're going to offer blockchain-based customer service to Lenovo. So Lenovo, technology company, obviously I know them best for their laptops. That's all I know them for, actually. But, they have laptops, and what is going to be happening here is, have you guys ever dealt with this issue? You've got an issue with your technology, whether it's a phone, a tablet, computer, whatever it might be, and you call or you use their automated customer service via phone or via computer, and they never can answer your question. You always have that one question that they can't answer. And they don't have any kind of path or roadmap that you can travel down to get to that question. It might be about something, totally abstract or random compared to most technical issues that people will have. But I found every time I have to call a customer service support line, it's because the automated service is terrible. So basically, IBM is now going to be working with Lenovo to bring blockchain-based customer service that's going to be able to actually respond to the language that you're using. Instead of saying, click this if your problem is this, this, or this, you're actually going to be able to speak and tell them your problem. And that blockchain-based AI is going to then be able to actually target the problem you're having and supposedly going to help you fix it. And I was thinking, this is really about the exact same, if not better, than outsource customer service to other places around the world, because I get so frustrated. I'll tell you this, guys. My kids have heard me cuss one time. You guys know I don't cuss on the channel. I don't use bad language. It's not something I do. No judgment. I know most people do. But one time in my life, and my kids, who are 3, 5, and 7, heard me cuss, I yelled out every cuss word in the book when I was on the customer service with Comcast. I hate them so much. I spent 1 week with them, and they're already my worst hated company. I got rid of them very quickly. And the thing is, what frustrates me so much is you call the customer service, and when you're on the phone with them, they have a script, and they will only read from that script. You say, listen, you please don't tell me that. I don't need to hear this part of the script. Could you just be real with me and tell me what the problem is? Okay, sir, 1 minute. Yes. You see, here at Comcast, we try our best. I'm like, no, you don't have to say that. Just answer my question. Anyways, I'm getting mad thinking about it right now. But anyways, the point is this blockchain-based customer service is going to be better than that, because if that's a script that they're using on the phone, then it's really the same thing as using this. And guess what? It's another way to automate jobs, which is another thing that Andrew Yang talks about. So, all right, guys, this could be big news. We'll just have to see. But, like I said, I do think this would be better than talking to somebody on the other side of the world.
Number 2.
Nike, just do it. Crypto, right? Yes. So this is very interesting, guys. I think this is huge news. A couple weeks ago, I reported that the PewDiePie, which I've been corrected, I have mistakenly been calling him PewDiePie. It's PewDiePie, is now live streaming on DLive, and I thought that was absolutely a huge underrated story. I think that's going to be really big for not only DLive, but for decentralization, blockchain, etc. This is another one of those stories. Very underrated. Basically, what Nike is going to do is they have now filed a patent under CryptoKicks. And, you may be saying, like, what is this? You want your shoes on the blockchain? You already walk around the block in your shoes. Might as well walk around the blockchain. So anyways, but what this is going to be is they're going to be non-fungible collectibles. And I think this is going to be absolutely huge, guys. Nike, a respected company, a trusted company, more trusted than a company like Facebook or Google by far. If they are able to offer some type of digital collectible service via a third-party website where you're able to get like really cool customized digital shoes and things like that, it sounds so silly to me as an adult. Like, I would never do that. But the kids love it. The kids love stuff like that. When I'm watching my kid play Fortnite, he goes crazy over, being able to put a different hat on the guy or a different costume, whatever it is. I could really care less, but the younger generation will eat this up. And I think this is absolutely huge. It's going to be a way to break new people into cryptocurrency, really, step up the digital collectibles market and really bring it into the real world with a huge company like Nike. So you guys make sure to watch out for this. I think this is definitely going to be big.
Hold up. It's time for an iOS break.
Huge iOS news. I recorded a podcast with Terrence Wang from iOS. He is the co-founder there. That will be coming out, I believe, on Monday, so be on the lookout for that. It'll be on Beards and Bitcoins. Then we'll post it on the channel later next week. But he was telling me that they had some big news coming up, and this is it. So we now have on Oasis, which, let me touch on this real quick. I recently reported on Oasis that it was going through a rebrand. The truth is that was misworded, and that is why Jimmy Zong did delete that tweet. So the tweet did exist, but it was deleted, and I mentioned in the video where I reported on this a couple days ago that, he deleted it. So maybe there was something, I thought maybe it was the time schedule. Oasis is not actually going through a rebrand. What it is Oasis is kind of like an umbrella, and there's going to be a lot of different companies and websites and platforms underneath it. So the first one of those is now called OnBlock. So OnBlock is going to be a gaming website where you're going to be able to play decentralized applications run on iOS. Now, why is this so big? Well, it's launching here in a couple days, April 28th. I think that's Sunday. It's going to be launched at 6 GMT. So right now the website's not up. But what is so big about this? And I think maybe this is the secret weapon that they've been referring to at iOS to bring on non-crypto users into crypto base or into decentralized platforms. You're not going to have a complicated way that you make a wallet. Basically, your phone number is going to be your wallet. Now, I'm not here to debate the merits of the phone number being a source for your wallet, because obviously we know about SIM card swapping and things like that. If you don't, go back and watch some of my SIM card swapping videos. Very interesting stuff. Very dangerous to tie phone numbers to identities. But I don't know exactly how they're planning to do it. Don't know if they're going to do it with 2FA. Don't know if they're going to do it with SMS. Not really sure. So they haven't launched, so we don't know yet. But if you think about it, regardless of security issues that we can't really comment on yet because we don't know, the fact that people could use their phone number to log into this website to play games, there's going to be a lot of addictive games. Remember when online games were absolutely huge, addictivegames.com or something like that? You'd go there when you were a kid and play all those kinds of games and things like that. And I think that's kind of what they want to turn OnBlock into, except it's going to be on blockchain. So imagine if all of those people, that millions and probably billions of people that use a lot of online gaming before, we've kind of had a fundamental shift in the way that online gaming takes place. But, imagine if all those people had crypto wallets. And that's basically what is going to be happening here. So this is a way to kind of bridge the difficulty of creating crypto wallets and storing private keys and things like that. So, is this going to bring a lot more people into crypto? I certainly hope so.
The number one crypto story of the day.
Okay, here we go. This is the Bitfinex story. Let's talk about this. It's very interesting. And hopefully by watching my video here, you guys are going to learn something new about this situation that you didn't know before, unless you're already a super researcher and already know all this stuff, which, why are you even watching my video, bro? You got better things to do. But anyways, so here we go. Bitfinex used Tether reserves to mask $850 million that was missing. Probe says. This is from the New York Attorney General. Now, I want you to pay attention to this picture. See the picture? This is the Attorney General for New York City, New York State. Her name is Letitia James. Now, I think the picture is used on purpose this way. Obviously, what is happening in this picture? She's doing a press conference and she is taking questions from the audience. She's pointing to someone who's asking a question. However, when used in conjunction with this article, it definitely puts off an appearance of, we got you. Does it not? When you see this picture and then you know the title of the article, that is what is being communicated through this picture. We got you. Now, that's going to come into play here in a little bit. That's very important because there's quite a double standard that has been created in this article, in my opinion. So if you come down here and you actually read what happened here, there was a time when Tether was getting overwhelmed, or Bitfinex was getting overwhelmed with customer withdrawals. So they basically outsourced their customer withdrawals to a third-party company named, where is it at in here? Gosh, I know it's called Crypto Capital. I can't find it, but I remember it. Crypto Capital, it was a, kind of payment processing company in Panama. Now, they never got the money back. Basically, they gave them the $700 million and nothing ever happened. No customer withdrawals went through. And basically, it was kind of like an exit scam. Now, what has happened since then, supposedly, now we don't know this for sure, but supposedly that money has been seized by, I guess you would call it a fourth party. Actually, you would call it another third party, but it's another entity now has control of the funds. We don't know who that entity is. The Panamanian government, possibly another government, FBI, we don't know. But Bitfinex tells us that money is completely safe, and they do expect it to come back into their circulation at some point. So, how did Bitfinex, sorry, I keep saying Tether, how did Bitfinex process customer withdrawals and manage all their flow with that $700 million missing? Well, basically they used customer funds and their reserves to cover it up. So basically the withdrawals would still go through. Now, you could make an argument that if their back was against the wall and that's what they had to do, that legal or not, that probably was the best thing for them to do, honestly. If not, then the whole company would have collapsed. And then how many more people, I want you guys to think about this. I'm not advocating a crime. I also want you to understand that. But I'm trying to put it into perspective for you guys. Would you have rather Tether completely collapsed? At that point, Tether was 90% of Bitcoin trading was going through Tether. And, would you have rather it basically collapse the entire crypto system that we have? Bitcoin would have bounced back from it eventually, but the timeline would have probably been much greater. Tether is that big of a player in the market. It's a top 10 coin even today with the numbers down I've heard less in the 70%, but around 80% is what an article either here, it either says this in the article or another percent. Between 70 and 90% of, stable coins, dollars in stable coins or crypto in stable coins is in Tether. So it's still a huge player, was even a bigger player than almost 100% of the stablecoin market was Tether at that point. So, and we're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars tied up into that. So from their perspective, they say, okay, we can't handle this. We need to trust somebody else with it. Well, they trust the wrong people. They try to exit scam on them. And then what is Bitfinex going to do? What are they going to do? I also think Bitfinex is a shady company, so I don't want to defend them too much. They've done a lot of things. I think there will be some kind of fraud uncovered in all this. But from a logical perspective, what were they supposed to do? Well, you could say never give the money in the first place. Absolutely, and you're right on that. But once that ship had sailed, then they had to dip in to make these payments. So, basically the New York State Attorney General is accusing them of fraud and things like that. We'll have to see how this plays out. They've asked Bitfinex for a ton of documents and things like that. So Bitfinex has actually responded, and this is what they say. The New York Attorney General's court rulings were written in bad faith and are riddled with false assertions, including as to a purported $850 million loss at Crypto Capital. On the contrary, we've been informed that these Crypto Capital amounts are not lost, but have been, in fact, seized and safeguarded. We are and have been actively working to exercise our rights and remedies and get those funds released. Sadly, the New York Attorney General's office seems to be intent on undermining those efforts to the detriment of our customers. Now, it's funny that we mentioned Silk Road earlier, because who was the biggest player in prosecuting Silk Road? Giving Ross Ulbricht 2 life sentences. Does he deserve to be in prison? I believe he does deserve to be in prison. Do I believe that he deserves to be in for life? Absolutely not. 10 years, 20 years? Okay, I get it. He did some bad things. There are a lot of, there's a lot of rumors and things that there's some evidence, but not enough evidence that he was trying to basically hire people to kill people that are trying to extort him and things like that. That's kind of what happens when you get so deep in the black market where he was. However, he didn't kill anyone. He didn't actually hire anyone to be killed. So life sentence for basically computer crimes and digital crimes, I feel like it's a lot. But New York played a huge role in that. New York is the one state that is against crypto more than any other state, no question about it. Why? Here's the big why. Why is New York so against cryptocurrency? Wall Street. Wall Street. That's why. Big banks. Guess what? They all have offices in New York. And I believe that this is driving this. I also do not believe, as I mentioned earlier in our Market Watch segment, that this was not released with full intentions to disrupt the market right now. There's no way that just at the peak of bullishness over the last 2 years, year and a half, the peak of bullishness we're at right now, and this story gets dropped. I think this story was purposely released at this time to continue to suppress the markets, to continue to point and laugh at cryptocurrency and try to keep it down, but it's not going to be. Bitcoin is going to continue to go up. So I mentioned earlier that I have to give an apology to Bitfinex and to Tether. I'm sorry. I said many times that I did not believe that you actually had the money backing Tether that you said that you had. This story unequivocally proves that it did. So if you go back and you look, Eric Voorhees had this tweet here. Eric Voorhees, one of the founding members of the Bitcoin Foundation. Ironically, this last Bitfinex drama may be the one thing that disproves the Bitfinex conspiracy theory. If US dollars in that amount was seized, stolen, held by Crypto Capital, then the US dollar backing Tether did actually exist after all. Bitfinex claimed that the USD never existed. With this $700 million basically exit scam on Tether, that the money still exists, it proves that they did have the money. And not only that, but they've been able to cover those losses with their reserves, and it looks like some customer accounts as well in the meantime, to be able to pay out all those withdrawals. Like, they got money, guys. That's a fact. They got money. Once this money is released by Crypto Capital and goes back into Tether, we never have to question them again, honestly. That we can question their business practices. I still will not apologize on that. I still don't like the way they do business. I don't like the person that started Tether. I won't say who it is, but there's a lot of people and a lot of players involved in Tether and Bitfinex that I do not like. There are some things that could be conspiratorial about them. I don't know for sure, so I can't really speculate. But the fact is they did have the money, guys. After all this time, they did have the money. So like I mentioned before, what they were doing, this is kind of similar to what they were doing, okay? Let's say that you had, and once again, I'm not advocating this. I'm not saying I would do this. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do. I'm not saying that this would not get you fired from your job, because it would. But it's kind of like this. Imagine you worked at a retail store. You're the manager. You're the last person to close. You have let's just say a phone bill that's due. The phone bill is $100. It's $100. For some hypothetical reason, you can only pay the phone bill with cash, okay? We know that doesn't really exist today, but let's just say that it did. You could only pay it with cash. It's $100. You're the closing manager. You're also the opening manager. So at 9 o'clock that night, you're going to leave, and then the next morning, you're gonna be back and you're gonna open the store. So you have, let's say, a payment coming through in the middle of the night, direct deposit, whatever it might be. So it's very simple. What you do, you take $100 out of the cash register, you go pay your phone bill with it, and the next morning you're back and replace the $100. Once again, not advocating that's legal by any stretch of the imagination, but I know people do that all the time. People do that kind of thing all the time. Yes, if their owner found, boss, whatever, found out, they would be fired. No question about it. But I know for a fact, I know people who have done this. That's what a lot of people do in the retail world, because ultimately, who is hurt by that? Well, in 99.9% of those situations, really nobody. You're borrowing. You're not actually stealing. It is stealing. It is stealing. And be careful how I say that. It is stealing. But in one sense, you're taking the money, it's being replaced in the morning, nobody knows, in the dark behavior, whatever, not good stuff, but people do it. That's basically what Tether did here. That's basically what Tether did, or Bitfinex did in this situation. The one thing that could get the person in trouble that does that is a disaster. Like your bank deposit doesn't go through. You don't take into consideration that the next day's a holiday. You get in a car accident. You wake up deathly ill. Like, there are some situations where you couldn't be able to replace that money, and that is why it is called stealing. So yes, in a way there was fraud, there was stealing. That is what Bitfinex did. However, if they didn't do it, we would probably be in a worse situation today than if they did. So appreciate you guys taking one for the team there, Tether and Bitfinex. So if there would have been a disaster that would have occurred, I don't know what it possibly would have been, but if there was some kind of disaster, they weren't able to replace their customer funds and their reserves and things, then at that point, it would have turned into a much, much bigger story. But luckily, none of that ever happened. They've been able to keep continuing, and they're not the only company that has done this. So on Twitter, Caitlin Long actually posted this. She said, "Stunned but not surprised by Bitfinex Tether news out of New York. I'll let other crypto lawyers analyze it, but here are 2 macro thoughts. Number 1, there's a big double standard here, and number 2, exchanges clean up your act." So what's the double standard? Well, the double standard is that Merrill Lynch actually did this same thing between 2009 and 2012, and they were never prosecuted for it. They actually were kind of urged on to do it. Basically, what they did is they used, I think it was it says $58 billion a day that they were holding, much more than what, the 100 million or 1 billion less than that Tether was holding. And, they were basically borrowing customers' money to finance its own trading activities, guys. This is already happening on a much larger scale. That's what I'm saying. The same way I said that it's not right that someone do that if they work in retail. Take the $100, replace it in the morning. It's not right. You should not do that. People do it all the time. It's not right what Tether did in Bitfinex. But bigger places do it all the time. Merrill Lynch did it from 2009 to 2012, and nobody writes an article about them. Once again, gotcha with the picture. Remember the picture? Go back to the picture. Wall Street Journal. Gotcha. This is a hit piece on cryptocurrency. If you guys don't understand this, then once again, I got some oceanfront property to sell you in Iowa this time, because this is absolutely a hit piece on cryptocurrency. This is the state of New York trying to drive the knife into cryptocurrency. It makes it very difficult. If you live in New York, you know New York makes it very difficult for you to be into crypto. They're trying to protect these banks. They're trying to protect their business interests. This is about nothing more. This is not about Bitfinex. This is not about, people borrowing money from their reserves. This is about New York trying to assassinate cryptocurrency, and I got news for you, buds, not gonna work. So, okay, guys, that's all I got for today. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Hope I was able to give you guys some new perspectives on what is actually happening with this Bitfinex drama. The truth is, it's not really that big of a deal. We're looking in retrospect back at what happened, not what's currently going on right now. I do think that ultimately people will continue to exodus out of Tether, which is a good thing. We don't want all of our money tied up into one stablecoin. We want it very diversified, where if one stablecoin collapsed, it wouldn't affect the entire market in a drastic way, like we saw just this FUD story yesterday did. So anyways, guys, that's all I got. BitBoy out.